Professor John, Professor Ru, Sri DVS Ramesh, Sri Anuj Gulati, Dr. Prakash would be joining us online. Please. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of Arogya Manthan. And we have 2 parallel sessions going on at this moment. This session, as you all know, is on the topic digitizing health insurance in India. A very, very important topic and seen as a precursor and a necessary condition for us to reach our goal of universal health coverage. We have our esteemed panel today, chaired by Dr. Indu Bhushan, who was the CEO of National Health Authority, and who in fact started this whole digitization work in the insurance sector and also the PMJY scheme in particular. Without further ado, I request the chair to kindly give his opening remarks, please.
Thank you very much, Kiran. And thank you very much, Dr. Sharma, for inviting me to this Arogya Manthan. Very good to be back with the friends and colleagues that I worked with for almost 3 years. In my opening remarks, I want to go through the evolution of digitization of health insurance, how we thought about it right from the beginning. And also I want to put to you some challenges that I see for health insurance digitization. And I hope that some of our panelists who are very eminent and have worked in this field for much longer than I have and most of us have, they will give some directions or throw some light on how to address those challenges. Okay, so as you all know that PMJ has a very strong, robust platform, IT platform, and from day 1 in PMJ, all our claims, all our cases, all our identification were being done by this end-to-end platform, which identifies patients, which tracks the patient's treatment, pre-authorization to release the discharge of patients, and then up to the going for the payment, and payment also is on this platform. But while we were very proud of this IT platform, and we thought it was a very robust one, we always had some discomfort with the platform. And you'll be surprised that why should we have some concerns about the platform while we are so proud of it. Looks slightly ironic, right? But the issue is that if you look at from hospitals' perspective, they're implementing several schemes. Government of India is implementing maybe 50 health schemes. And if every health scheme has its own platform, then from the perspective of hospital, when a patient comes, if it's a PMJ patients, they're using this platform. If person comes for prevention of blindness, they use different platform. Someone comes for hemodialysis, PM's hemodialysis program, they use other platform. So in terms of integration, in terms of system building, we always thought it was a big challenge. And not only there was a proliferation of platforms in the health sector, but each platform also doesn't talk to each other. So if one person comes and they want to register in, say, prevention of blindness for cataract, and they also do it from PMJ. It can happen without no one knowing that they're the same patients claiming different kind of treatment or claims. So in the first year, in 2019, we had a retreat of all our management team, and we thought that how can we bring everything together in terms of so that if person comes, hospitals don't have to register them, because many hospitals have their own HIS system. So they will be registering the patient on their own HIS system. They'll also register them on our BIS, beneficiary identification system. Then they will be tracking the person in their own HIS, but also in our transaction management system. So can we do something which is a very open source thing, and people can use their own systems and use the same standards? We can just set the standards, and it can be platform agnostic, and people can use their own platform, and we can achieve the same results. Obviously, it was not feasible, and we thought that we can start with some aspect, some small part of the whole system, and see if that can be done. And that's where the concept of National Health Claims Platform, NHCP, came up, and we said it should be part of our revision of IT. When we have IT 2.0, that will be part of NHCP. And then, as the luck would have it, we also had strong collaboration with IRDA, and there were 4 working groups which were established. And one of the working groups was especially on NHCP, because the concerns that we had about the whole health system, IRDA had concerns about the claims management system, that they wanted to have a platform on which every different system can be linked to. So the decision together with IRDA was that we'll have this NHCP where we'll define the standards, we'll also have a reference application, and which will act as a common claims platform. So hospitals, if they are linked to 7 or 8 insurance companies, don't have to fill out different forms or on different formats. They can have used the same platform for all 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 insurance companies. They are part of CGHS. The same platform can be used. They are part of PMJ. Same platform can be used. So that was the concept which we came up with, and the bidding documents and RFP for that was prepared. And in the meantime, NDHM happened, and NDHM was announced, and we were not sure when it will come into being, but actually it started sooner than later. And when NDHM came, we said, okay, so this National Health Claims Platform can be part of either NDHM or PMJ, because PMJ is interested only in its own claims, but since we are doing a large number of claims, and in future, probably it can be the majority of claims would emanate from PMJ, so it would probably make sense to take the lead and others can join. But with NDHM coming, it became even easier, and we thought that we'll do it. The reason why we started with the claims management, not other parts of the whole process, was because we thought it was a low-hanging fruit. And why it is a low-hanging fruit? There are 3 particular reasons that it was a low-hanging fruit. One, it was a relatively virgin area where not much was being done. Most of the claims management was being done manually, and not much work was done. Once the work has been done, people have their own apps. It is very difficult to change that. But here, probably starting with a clean slate, it was easier. Second thing why we thought it was a low-hanging fruit was because the number of stakeholders were limited, major stakeholders, because the number of insurance companies can be counted on 2 fingers. Number of big hospitals who are going to be using it were not too many, and the number of total number of hospitals which are using insurance claims are also not many. And since PMJ was already doing this claims management through its own system, so all the hospitals which are part of PMJ were already doing it in a way. So that was the second thing. Third thing why it was a low-hanging fruit was that interest of all the stakeholders were aligned. Hospitals, they were not very happy about submitting too many forms. They wanted some predictability, transparency. They wanted how long and where the claims are pending. They wanted to expedite it. And insurance companies also wanted real information, real-time information, and quick information from hospitals. And beneficiaries, of course, have a stake in having their claims settled as soon as possible. So all three were aligned. So we thought that was a low-hanging fruit. And now I know that under the leadership of Dr. Sharma, this concept has taken to a different level, and it's now called HCX, and now very soon, or it's already the technology platform is ready and ready to be rolled out. So we are at the dawn of that major revolution in terms of making health insurance more transparent, predictable, and more efficient and cost-effective. So I hope that we'll be seeing that very soon. And I know that a lot of work has been done, and POC and the many companies have used Sandbox to test out their applications. I am also very glad to see that we have representation from Swasth here, Mr. Nair, who also has been working on this. If there is a space in today's discussion, maybe he can also provide us some inputs on what he is doing. So now, technology platform is ready and ready to roll, but that is only the beginning. That is not the end. And here, I would like to turn to the second part of my presentation, that what are the challenges that I see. The major challenge I see is that while technology is an enabler and means to an end, it can only facilitate what we want to do. The biggest challenge will be the change management, how to convince, how to persuade, how to encourage hospitals to use that system and not continue with the old manual paper-based system. What happens mostly in our systems is we have a platform. While we use that platform, we also continue with the paper-based. So it becomes worst of the both world. Instead of improving efficiency, it creates more work rather than solves any problem. So this change management and the major issue will be getting the capacity of hospitals ready and ensuring that whatever problems they have with this technology, with the platform, there is a feedback loop where we can keep on improving the platform if there are some glitches or some problems, that whatever modification needs to be done, it is done properly. And the same thing goes from insurance companies. And insurance companies should not insist that they need the old system of paper-based claims. They should adopt and fully be part of this electronic system, and that is the second challenge. Third challenge is that claims are at the end of the whole process. So while we can improve the claim management, it will also be important that the previous steps in insurance system are also systematized and improved. That starts with the identification of the person, ensuring that that person has insurance, going to pre-authorization, which should also be part of a platform, and then ensuring that the treatment that is needed is being given, and in that also the platform or any electronic system can help. And let me elaborate on this part of treatment, because the major problem that we have in treatment is the problem of moral hazard. Insurance companies are keen to know that the right treatment is being given and the providers are not resorting to over-treatment or unnecessary treatment. And at the same time, hospital, the government, public, and the beneficiaries have a sense that they should not also be providing under treatment and claiming the full money. So here, the work that NHA is doing under Dr. Shankar and Dr. Sudha in terms of putting together standard treatment guidelines and ensuring that quality treatment and the appropriate treatment is provided, that is very important. And how to integrate that with technology and ensuring that the kind of documentation that is needed is there will be important. And that can also improve not only the efficiency of the system, but also the quality of care that we expect. So with that, I would like to close and thank you all for listening to me, and I'll very keenly look forward to the inputs from our esteemed panelists. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, sir. That really sets the perspective and the context for this discussion. And like you mentioned, IRDAI and NHA continue to have a very strong relationship in taking this forward. We have Mr. Ramesh from IRDAI, and I would like to ask you, Mr. Ramesh, as to, after having standardized the whole claims process, what is the future plan IRDAI looks at to further improve efficiency and bring about transparency, and especially in the digitization side, and what plans are there, and how would you think it should be going ahead? What is IRDAI's take on this, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Kiran. At the very outset, to begin with, I just convey my respects and greetings to Mr. Inabhushan, former CEO NHA, and current CEO NHA, Sri R.S. Sharma Garu. I also compliment NHA for bringing around the theme on Arogya Manthan and making digitization of health insurance as one of the key themes. It's in fact one of the very important areas that we need to focus as the entire stakeholders, how to leverage on the digitization space and how to pass on the benefits of this digitization process to the end customers. So these are the main two key points which are always as one of the key drivers in our journey. With respect to your specific query, in fact, what would be the future benefits or future plans of IRDAI? In fact, to give you a small perspective to the audience, in fact, the authority has been in the forefront of allowing the insurance companies to use the electronic platforms or electronic means of settlement of claims almost from 2016 onwards. 2016 health insurance regulations have already enabled the insurance companies to put in place systems for the purpose of transmitting the data or information through electronic platform. That is the first step that we can proudly say that we introduced in the year 2016 itself. Then the second step is that we have also in the year 2019, well ahead of the entry of COVID pandemic, we advised all the insurance companies and TPA companies to discontinue the maintenance of physical papers if electronic data is already, the reliable and credible electronic transmission data platforms are already in place. So some issues around the electronic space we are already put in place. With respect to what would be the future expectations or future deliverables from IRDAI, we can only say that the the insurance regulatory regime in India is, evolving over a period of 2 decades. Since introduction of IRDAI in the year 1999, we, had a very checkered history of around 2 decades, having put in place an effective regulatory oversight encompassing the entire insurance sector. Now it is, realized, or it is thought that the time is ripe for the entire industry to move towards the prescriptive comprehensive based regulatory approach to principles based approach. And then we are also thinking of leveraging more and more on the digital space by way of putting in place, some sort of e-marketplace. That's what even our chairman is also, perhaps a majority of the audience sitting here would have been heard of, Bima Sugam. This is a type of platform where, that entire, it works like a insurance marketplace, where all the stakeholders can plug into this particular marketplace, service, inquire, and also leverage on the service deliverables. So over a period of time, what we are envisaging is, for example, even the National Health Claims Exchange platform, that what we are envisaging to shortly bring in place, will be also some sort of enabler for our Bima Sugam platform, that what we are envisaging in IRDAI, for the purpose of, these platforms will be speaking to each other, for the purpose of, to let the policy holders place their claims requests simply through Bima Sugam onto your claims exchange platform. So this is one of the areas. The another areas what the authority is also looking into, examine in deep is what are the, the insurance requirements at large to the entire market. What are the gaps at present? Where the issues relating to deliverables? What are the areas in respect of which the digital space or electronic space can really help these areas to work for the purpose of, ensuring the delivery of right product to the end customer with the least costs, for the purpose of ensuring affordability for all segments of the market, so that, the insurance penetration at this point of time, which is around 3 to 3.5% in the country, having a greater potentiality to unleash, it shall reach to the highest levels maybe over a period of, say, our chairman keeps saying, by 2047, we as the stakeholders shall have the dream of ensuring that every citizen is having at least one life insurance policy, every family of this country is completely protected with one health insurance policy, and every household is having one property insurance or household insurance for the purpose of covering everything. So towards this particular a well checkered target of reaching the best heights, we are in the progress of unleashing the reform regime in the insurance space, and then we are very keen and happy to work with various stakeholders in this space, more particularly with NHA in both the journeys of both NHA and IRDAI. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us the perspective of IRDA on this, Ramesh Garu. While NHA and IRDAI together are trying to transform, along with the industry partnership and other partnerships to transform, it is also good to learn about experiences from other areas, from other countries where this work has already happened, or to some extent is at an advanced stage. So we have Professor Jong Soo Ryu from Yonsei University Graduate School of Public Health, who was in fact working with HERA, Korea, earlier. So we would like him to kindly present and give us an idea of the ICT system at HERA and how it works, and he has a short presentation on that. Thanks.
It's working, right? Okay. Good morning. Thank you so much for inviting this very valuable and particularly successful event. And I'm coming from a country where we have every day making the world records in 2 points related to health. One, the fast-growing, aging society. And the second point is we are the lowest birth rate, fertility rate, 0.82. So without the cousins north of doing a lot of firework, we will have a problem soon. So my spending time international consultation, I always feel before extinction of Korea, I would like to do my best job. So today, also I try to offer what Korea has done with national health insurance, of course, failures and or some successes as well. 30 years of the digitalization. I mean, I'm talking about the 90s, the 2020s, right? So before that, 90s, there were also, of course, paper-based or some kind of calculation using the electronic system. But adoption of a digitalized whole technology starting from 1990, that's probably a precise way to can say. And what I would like to say is that, well, I am one of I have very unique experience in global UHC community because I was executive project manager who designed and built and put in operational manual of another countries digitalized national health insurance system using that government fund of over $30 million in Middle East country. So in that process, what I really echoing with the Dr. Indu say, what game change, the tool, technology itself is not really means that much if we do not put in really precise the conceptual framework and the policy work right, begin with. So when you probably remember very famous speech from Stephen Jobs at Stanford University, graduation saying, you connect the dot, then you will see that how you worked your life well. So do not believe others saying, guiding your life. You follow your trust, your guts, destiny, life, karma, whatever, right? But I have to tell you the opposite. When it comes to data world, you should not follow your own guts, your own belief. You have to engage in communication, agreement, consensus building, defining values of each data you collect, and the mission of that data, where to go, how to work, and see the whole universe before start to collect, start to apply technologies. Because you are public entity. I also work to public entity. Therefore, if I make changes during the process or after built, after introduced law and regulations, rescind, that is not position that you wanted to be. You wanted to build trust with supply chain, providers, your citizens. So, I think what I would like to share with you today, although I am asked to speak 10 minutes, I'm trying, with the two charts, I thought it's very important. I have about 70 pages of 3 days workshop amount, but I selected only two pages to share with you. Okay, here. Data that 140.4 billion cases storage at HIRA, 3 petabytes data capacity. All citizens' healthcare information, 79.3 billion cases. And then healthcare quality evaluation data, 42 million cases. And the drug, about 51.2 billion cases. Healthcare resource-wise, 0.97 billion cases, and the uncovered service and image data, 9 billion cases. This uncovered case means that National Health Insurance does the treatment, the consultations, does not listed on coverage. Therefore, it is out-of-pocket money. Now, 2 years ago, National Health Insurance is started to track that what are the services offered outside the benefit package and how much money people spend. Now, this is where that collection and what are the collected data, clinical data-wise, claims request, and then medical records. So it does have the medical fee claims portal and then invoice specification, medical service records. Then you can see EMR is connected with that. And then healthcare resource data, which is very important. When claims comes in, there is ID number for facility, also ID number of license numbers, right? So therefore, any service rendered is certainly that facility can able to perform that verification-wise. All this matching process is, of course, done with a simple AI program. The third is the drug data, which is also very important because this system tracks from manufacturing point to processing to wholesale, the second wholesale, hospitals, pharmacies, and the end user. As long as that drug is covered by National Health Insurance, then the system knows who, the end of drug, that who is taking this drug, right? And how much money. And these are all system was built, as I said, 30 years of evolution. Here, there are 5,000 STEM members working. 75% of the STEM members are clinical STEM members who are probably 90% are nurses and 10% medical doctors. These are the people involved in the designing, also evaluating, reviewing, monitoring all these pieces. Then the 25 belong to administrative as well as IT and etc. What I explained this to you is that investment during that 30 years, it did not start with the 5,000 STEM members to begin with. From get-go, it was small. But with the technology, this is something that we got to be aware. With the technology development, that we think we can reduce STEM members? No, it ain't true. With the technology, we'll get more talented, new technology people coming in, as well as the demand from the medical community, as well as the government side, as well as the consumer side, that we need to respond to that. For example, here I used to only cover reviews, medical health, national health insurance portion of it. But now it does with car insurance. Because there has been so much fraud with the injuries with the car. So the commission as well as the Ministry of Finance asked HIRA to conduct all car accident damages, right? So there has been record. The fraud detection program we have were able to reduce over $100 million worth of damage or claims. The pattern has been changed. So this is something you can see. I'm share the importance of we will be flexible with the technology, with the issues that coming from outside of our national health insurance territories. But again, the public sector has obligation to be flexible, to work with what new necessary demand. Then, of course, public data-wise, we're using this data also certainly connected with the different government agencies. it is, I mean, not only my experience working with Vietnam and the Malaysia, Philippines and Peru and Colombia, different countries, what I see is this in siloed data. Each department, agency would like to keep their own data, possess the data. But if somehow we will work together with the agencies, the Korea also notorious about this possessing own data. The IRS, tax agency, offered a portion of the data which is very important to estimate your premium. Now, if you're a government employee or regular employees, the whole thing is open already, right? But when you do have own business or retired, there is no record. Only tax agency has that record. So tax agency shares that information with National Health Insurance. How much is worth. And with that, we estimate, calculate the amount of premium, monthly premium that each person have to pay. And then also connecting with the bank. If you don't pay 3 months, that premium, frozen your account. And then you're not still paying. 6 months later, the National Health Insurance is right to take money out. Right? So this is where you got to work with your national authorities. Well, we talk about the health is most important, the right of health, right? Then the one other piece we got to also let them understand is when you receive a good quality of a service, medical service, people have to pay and people have to follow guidelines, right? This is not one-way business. It is a mutual, both ways. We got to make sure that the promote education and public service is not free. Somebody have to pay, especially health. It's you have to pay. As long as quality is good, right? Then the other, now I want to show you a little bit more detail. This is where the HIRA's ICT business flow. This is not done one day or 1 year. This is accumulating evolution. And you can see collection process of it, and the processing of it, and the analyzing of it, utilization part of it. And here also, this system itself, inside there, we have our accounting system, and the management system, and the intelligence system all embedded there as well. So it is a total universe, how this system is working. Despite of this whole systems working there well, one of the very chilling episode that was reported, very much notorious parts of the National Health Insurance policy here. The 2018, the administration made a very popular policy decision that paying MRI and ultrasound covered, which was selectively covered until 2018. Therefore, the out-of-pocket money is being was reaching 37, 38%. Therefore, government decided to reduce out-of-pocket and put this out. You know, within 3 years, 19, 20, 21, the expenditure goes up 10 times more. It was almost like starting from $20 million become $200 million. And this is where you can see the policy decision is much serious, importantly impact than IT utilization. And certainly, when we really lose up, where they're monitoring and evaluation and using the evidence-based data for policy-making process, this sort of thing happens. I love Sabka Sath sarcophagus. Why? Well, united together, we grow. Data had to be united, integrated. Your founding father said that. I had his picture on my teenage time, my desk. Gandhi was my mentor. I loved this. The data should be interoperable. And the data had to be united and transparent. Regulated data exchange had to happen. Well, this is where this ecosystem is led by payer. Who is a payer? You. You are payer, right? And India's, this authority is very important to read with so many the characteristics, the values that data creates, and data management will achieve UHC. And the data management where that you can see all these complicated, complex, the interactions among the data, it will make decision. And also another part of this one, importantly saying, we are talking about big data is so important, right? Collecting data is so important. Accumulating data is not important anymore. Now we are entering age of AI, not AI technology alone. AI produces rules. AI produces how to interpret the whole environment. So our now product that we would like to work with is what the rules and the products produced by AI and those programs. That's where we are entering. So this is sort of a fifth generation of how to use data. Certainly we are entering, so therefore I'm not sure what it looks like. But so far, fourth generation of using data, digital data is this much. So thank you so much for your paying attention and inviting me again. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Ru. That gives us a very nice perspective of how to utilize data and what we should look forward to in terms of doing with the digitization and going forward. We have Dr. S. Prakash, MD, Star Health and Allied Insurance, joining us online. Being one of the private players and one of the payers, we would like to understand your perspective as to what your expectations are, or what do you think should be the major focus while digitization, so that you can end up formulating better policies, underwrite in a more efficient and streamlined manner. And while the National Health Claims Exchange or platform is being made, the protocol or the structure that we are building, what do you think we should make sure that we cover? And what is it from a payer's perspective? We can't hear you, Dr. Prakash.
Can you see me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Aap sabko namaskar. Very good morning to all of you. Am I visible, sir?
Yes, you are visible.
Yeah, thank you. Anyway, I should thank you at the outset for this opportunity. I could find this a very meaningful session and a very truly inspiring one. Answering to your queries.
You may like to move the camera so that you are at the center of the screen.
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's better now, yes. Thanks.
At the outset, I would like you all to excuse me because, I am on way to Hyderabad to attend a meeting with our chairman at IRDA office. So that's the reason why I'm joining through online. I just want to convey in a very concise and precise way the issues we had due to transaction through paper. The digitization, whatever we are trying to envisage in the healthcare ecosystem, if it has to happen successfully, this requires the cooperation of both hospitals and insurers. But still from medium and small size hospitals, we get handwritten data, and using methods like OCR, ICR, we see the conversion accuracy is around 70%. Even with a printed platform, the conversion accuracy was only 90 to 92%. So the challenges we had while doing paper transaction with paper, we find that the conversion accuracy could not be achieved 100% on our quality checks. So that was a major problem. This resulted in human assisted interventions, excess manpower cost, and overall increase in turnaround time. And moreover, due to the paper system, you all know that in insurance, fraud is rampant, and it is the duty of insurer to keep their eyes and ears open to arrest any fraud, abuse, and leakage. So detection of fraud and mitigation of fraud has become a big challenge without digitization. Now, with the introduction of digitization, I should say that as insurers, we designed the product. We designed the product with a lot of innovative policy features. But when the customer wants to use it, they don't come to us, they go to the hospital. And there is always a disconnect between design and delivery, because delivery of services is given by hospitals. So digitization now, I can foresee a lot of benefits. Number one, in India, it is only those with a family history or people who have been diagnosed with some form of disease or who are at a threat of a disease, people who have a strong family history, they are the people who want to buy health insurance. My previous speaker from IRDA, Mr. Ramesh, was talking about insurance penetration, how we can facilitate. So insurers should come forward and design cover for people living with disease, people with diabetes, with hypertension, without any exclusion. From day one, they need a cover. We should have insurance cover for people with a heart disease, people suffering with kidney disease, with cancer. This is possible if we have proper data and if our actuaries can study with the existing data and design a cover. This is very much possible. The second thing is, are we pricing the product appropriately? From my experience, I can tell you that we have introduced cover for patients with heart disease, patients with cancer, and patients with diabetes from day one. And honestly, I can tell you a lot of studies I did, I tried to collect Indian data because Indian data was not available. We were trying to work on international data, and most of the time we felt that our policies were priced high. I used to fight with my actuarial team and product team. I used to blame them for not properly working on the prices. And they used to tell me that they don't have proper data. So digitization of data, very important, can help insurers to arrive at appropriate pricing. And this can really help penetration in a big way. Next, digitization can also help in underwriting selective risks. So today, we don't have proper history about their electronic health record, their previous claims history. So naturally, digitization can help in a big way on proper underwriting. It can reduce the turnaround time, and it can also minimize the manpower required and reduce the cost on services. And again, I see that we heard a lot about HCX. Through a common digitalized ecosystem, health-related information can be exchanged seamlessly between the payer and the provider. Mr. Indu Bhushan was talking about proliferation of platform. As doctors, we have seen proliferation of bacteria and viruses, but very painful to see proliferation of platform, and the hospitals do not have a single platform to pass on all their health insurance related requirements. And there are a lot of intermediaries and claim aggregators who are trying to come in, and this is further increasing the claims cost. So naturally, digitization can keep away intermediation in claims. Digitization can give more confidence to the hospitals, and it can help in exchanging data through HSX Health Exchange platform, where it can be a single platform to transform all the data to the respective insurers. Finally, going forward, I could see that today we are talking about the success of Ayushman Bharat, and Mr. Ramesh was also talking about the need for validation of a claim. As health insurers, we not only pay for a claim, we also validate, check the indications, and see that whether the claimant is in the hands of the right hospital and the diagnosis and the line of management is apparently in order. So it is the need for health insurers to validate the claim. And going forward, health insurance cannot pay only for an activity. They have to pay for the outcome. If we have to pay for the outcome, hospitals have to maintain a proper registry and a MIS system through which we can see not only the activity, but also the follow-up, the efficiency of management, and how successful the treatment is. And based on that, we can price the hospital, we can categorize the hospital, we can grade them. A lot of things can be done on that front in assessing the clinical outcome. And finally, before I conclude, I can say that digitization has a lot to do in process automation. Today, we are spending a lot of time on deciding on approval and deciding on a payment, the waiting time at the time of discharge. All these things are frequently spoken about. Definitely, digitization can help to reduce the waiting time at the discharge. So here, process automation using policy motto of language, where we have done a sandbox with the regulator on automatic process automation, where we have a policy motto of language, tariff verification, and a rule engine. All these things together can help take a decision for commonly identified procedures within minutes, so that the customer gets the benefit of approval within few seconds to minutes. As we all know, customers are in a distress when they are in the hospital, and they are not very familiar about the hospital process and the insurance formalities. At this point of time, digitization should be it should make customer experience very pleasant, and it should transform the distress in the minds of customers into a delight through our experiences that we offer on the digital journey. So this is a very, very valid platform. In fact, we are going to collaborate with FCX and then try and see that whatever they have, the platform that they have prepared, how it can be scaled to reach more customers. We are trying to do the initial work with them, and we are very much for it. And I should thank the regulator, because they have triggered us in so many ways, before pandemic and during pandemic, to look at different options of introducing digitization in our services. And I look forward to a great future for digitization in India. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Prakash. Thank you for setting out those benefits that you as a payer looks at what digitization can bring in. We also have Shri Anuj Gulati, MD and CEO, Care Health Insurance Limited with us. Mr. Gulati, while, Dr. Prakash has mentioned about the platform, the rules engine, the policy markup language, and we at NHA, in consultation and coordination with IRDA, are trying to build a platform and the standards. So, and then there are legacy systems, and then there are existing processes. What are your expectations, or what you think should we take care of while building these standards and the platform and the structured objects that we are preparing in FHIR, so that all the use cases, because this is a platform that is not intended only for PMJ, it is intended to be used by the general other health insurance as well. So what are those elements that one should take care of to be incorporated in this whole structure that we are trying to build?
Dr. Indu Bhushan, chair of the session, senior colleagues at NHA, my colleague from IRDA, Mr. Ramesh, Professor Jong, my other industry colleague, Dr. Prakash, and of course, thank you for this opportunity. Thanks for inviting us here today. And as I've been reflecting on some of the questions raised, some of the challenges, some of the opportunities, I'll just take a step back. I personally started my career in the insurance industry in the year 2003, almost 20 years ago. Health insurance in India in 2003 was 1,000 crores. Health insurance industry now is 80,000 crores. So in the last 20 years, we made progress. We've gone from 1,000 crores to 80,000 crores. And the one realization I have is this is an industry that's built on trust, building confidence, building trust. Right? This is not a product, this is a product the consumer first time experiences when they're already in the hospital. So we have to get it right. We have to get it right for the consumer. That's how you build trust, through word of mouth, and the industry grows. We've been very fortunate to have a very proactive regulator, IRDA, Mr. Ramesh personally. The regulation that he spoke about, the year 2016, which was the first health insurance regulation in the country, 2019, when we beefed up basis learnings of the industry, and we've had time to time, as we've improved on the regulation, the standardization we brought in the product, the coverages, the benefits, the exclusions, standardization around claim forms, the way data is collated and used extensively, the grievance management systems that have been set up at the industry level to, again, be able to build trust with the consumer. I think the work that NHA has done over the last many years, especially around building this platform, I keep saying that the biggest innovation that's come into health insurance in the industry has come from outside, so to say, what we loosely call the industry, which is insurance companies and so on, is through NHA. Because to even fathom to say that you could standardize a product, take it to 50 crore beneficiaries in the hardest to reach geographies in this country and make it work seamlessly. Right? And we ourselves as a company participated in round 1 in Chhattisgarh, and we saw the power of the system. We saw the power of being able to handle millions of lives, a little over 1 million claims were settled over a very short time period, and it all went through seamlessly. And all of it was made possible because of the way the product was standardized and the way the platform was designed, where every stakeholder was a part of the same system and being able to exchange data seamlessly. I keep saying products can be designed and priced. What we can't price for is, of course, adverse selection. And in this case, because of universal health coverage and all being included, that was not a challenge. Outside of that, you're trying to solve for fraud. You're trying to solve for friction cost. Right? And the question that Kiran, you asked me earlier today about too much private health insurance, are we going the US way, where healthcare spend as a percentage of GDP goes out of whack, right? It becomes too expensive. My only limited point is that as we, keeping the consumer at the heart of it, if we have to get more consumers under the ambit of health insurance, under the ambit of healthcare coverage in that sense, we will, and to build more trust for them, I think the foundation that we've laid collectively and what COVID has done in the last 2 years has made health insurance, healthcare coverage a drawing room conversation. It's a coffee table conversation now in mainstream in every household in this country. So the awareness problem is solved. Also, people have experienced and seen, unlike a lot of other geographies and other markets around the world, where, see, pandemics are excluded in every insurance policy. We've never priced for them. Most Western markets, insurance companies chose to exclude pandemic as a coverage. In India, collectively as an industry, we've chosen to cover COVID-related illnesses within our policies. Right? I think that's built trust. That's further built trust with the consumer. What we have to do from here is, I think, the demand side, the awareness side problem is solved. It's now more a supply problem. Our ability to work collectively with hospitals, with providers, our ability to make more and more of claims to be cashless versus reimbursement. We see more grievances in reimbursements versus cashless. NHA is successful because it's all cashless, right? Because it's real time, it takes fraud out. It's real time, it allows for real time data exchange, real time authorizations, because of which the consumer experience is much better. right? So our ability to, and what I think what the work that HCX and what you've been doing as a part of NHA with all the digital assets you put in place, I think a lot of the protocol standards are there. The infrastructure is there now. It's for us as an industry to come forward, adopt it. Us for an industry to come forward, not only adopt it, and for us to work with you in building services around it, by which it kind of makes it seamless at our end, but most importantly at the provider level as well, right? Because again, unlike the insurance industry, which as Dr. Indubhushan said, you can count on 2 hands or 4 hands, there are tens of thousands of providers in this country, right? Hospital management systems are not standardized. So ability to work, and it's our responsibility to work with them, to integrate some of those systems by which we are able to get that data to move seamlessly, collate that data so that we are able to analyze, to be able to, as Dr. Prakash said, the future is going to be about covering micro segments of customers. HIV, cancer, every segment can be covered because the moment there's no fraud, we know how to price for it. It's more about calculating that data effectively and hence being able to, and it's a positive spiral in that sense, the way we are able to grow this. So I think a lot of it from here is going to be about insurance companies riding on this platform that has been put together and building on that platform to be able to make this more seamless for the consumer so that we can grow coverage, which is the ultimate aim. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And we really look forward to working with the industry, both from the provider side and the payer side, to make this whole digitization possible. One of the aspects of digitization and in fact revolutionizing this whole insurance systems is the overall economic impact, and our chair is also a health economist. And from you, sir, we would like to understand a little bit more about the broader picture of how this can actually transform, so that we have that perspective in mind and why this whole digitization should even happen. So before we open up for questions, we'd like to hear that economist perspective from you, sir.
You know, there are very few interventions which are win-win-win propositions, because in most of the interventions what happens, or most of the reforms, what happens, there are gainers and losers. And some people gain, some people lose. But here, it seems that digitization in health particularly is something that I don't find any losers except for some of the fraudsters. They will lose. And just to clarify that if from the person's perspective, patient's perspective, common man's, common woman's perspective, if digitization takes place, they have easier access to doctors or providers. They can find where the most appropriate services are available. They can also see what the ranking or what kind of feedback has been received for that provider. They can have more information about their own health. They'll have a much better record of themselves, which can be also effective for their treatment. And from provider's perspective, if they have exact information or more clear information about the patient, about the past record, what kind of vaccines they've taken, what kind of what kind of drug contraindication that person has. So it's much easier for the person, them to respond. It makes interoperability, or a person can go from provider to provider without seamlessly, they can go seamlessly from provider to provider without having the problem of discontinuity. From government's perspective, it becomes easier because we know exactly what is going on, what kind of disease patterns are emerging in which part of the country, what kind of policies are working, what kind of policies are not working. For example, Doctor, you mentioned that example of looking at when the policy lever was changed in 2019, and it led to a huge increase in consumption of MRI and other services, diagnostic services. That is possible only if we have digitization, which gives you regular and on-time feedback, because it doesn't really help if that kind of information is available to policymakers 2 years after this thing has happened. So that lag is removed. So if we see it from insurance point of view, or hospitals perspective, or any other perspective, again, digitization will make their life easier because transparency helps everyone. So in that sense, I think this is going to be not only reducing cost, but improving efficiency, but improving the quality of care, because whatever you want to enforce in terms of the kind of treatments that should be provided, ensuring accountability of providers, that is much easier if we have a system that can be tracked and information that can be tracked. So in that sense, this is going to be a huge game changer where probably the welfare of everyone will improve, except for those people who were gaining through dubious means.
Thank you, sir. With your permission, sir, we would...
Can we also request Ajay to just give us a short brief on what's happening on in this sector, if time permits, just maybe 2 minutes?
Yes, sure,
Yeah?
sir. Sure, sir.
Sorry about that, but I hope he'll add value. But I think he'll add some value. आप वहीं से बोल सकते हैं?
Thank you, sir, and thank you all for giving me this opportunity. I also want to update on the HCX, which is a process that started off under the guidance of the IRDA and the NHA. And I represent an organization called the Swasth Alliance. We are a collaborative of over 150 healthcare institutions, including insurance companies, as well as healthcare technology organizations and hospitals. And what we've been able to do over the last couple of years, while also working on a lot of COVID projects, is to bring a large group of volunteers, over 100 volunteers from across the insurance, hospital, and technology industries, to start creating the first set of standards under the guidance of the NHA, which we now collaborate with the NHA on, as well as the NRCS and CDAC on. And because the HCX, or the Health Claims Exchange, is really the beginning of the journey, because what we are doing in the beginning is really digitizing two aspects of the claims process. The first piece is the pre-auth when a patient walks into the hospital, and the last is the discharge when the patient leaves the hospital. But the idea with this protocol is that it evolves over time, and it evolves to cover a lot of the use cases, the policy markup language, the bill markup language, allow for auto adjudication. But the goal here is to create an ecosystem that works together, because there's a tremendous amount of change management involved, both at the insurance end as well as the hospital end, both in terms of process and as well in terms of what you end up doing clinically. But I wanted to update this group, and I wanted to thank Dr. Bhushan and Mr. Vaskar for giving me this opportunity to actually update you guys. Is that this process has started. We have an incredible ecosystem working together on HCX, along with the government and under the direction and under their supervision. And we're very, very happy to report that this is very, very quickly going to be a reality. We are actually in the process of starting some of these proofs of concepts to actually pass live claims through the HCX ecosystem and show results. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ajay. In fact, this whole idea of HCX and the protocols and standards, the whole work started during the time of Dr. Indubhushan, and this collaborative work that has been happening, where we made sure that we have industry, where we have health experts, etc., come in and help us build these standards, along with NRCS, is actually trying to make sure that what we build is built for the country and built for everybody rather than for just one single program. That's the idea. So with your permission, sir, we'll open the floor for questions. So my request is, I mean, kindly raise your hand and kindly be crisp and come to the question straight. And you may, in fact, address one of the speakers whom you want to respond on that also. Anybody has a question? Yes, over there, please. And may I ask the usherers to kindly give the mics.
Hi. Hi everyone. This is Praveen. I'm heading innovation at Star Health Insurance. I have one fundamental question. See, when we are trying to reduce the overall burden on the insurance, from the provider perspective, when you go and say, I have an insurance, and when you go and say, I don't have an insurance, the treatment, the diagnostics vary, right? So, as an individual, at that point of time, you don't know whether that is required or not required, right? Because there are risk elements. From an overall industry perspective, because this increases the claim size for the insurance, which will increase the premium, which will make sure that the lot of people cannot afford the premium. So how do we address this problem through digitization? Like, for example, any leads on this?
And you want the chair to answer the question?
This is a very pertinent question, and a question that that have been at the forefront of the why people like Mr. Gulati keeps awake at night. That when a person goes to a hospital, and if the person is insured, they will be probably asked to, or potentially they can be asked to undergo a lot of diagnostic tests which are not even needed. So one way to do that through digitization is that you have a record of everyone with a similar condition which has gone to the hospital, and some people have been systematically asked to go for MRI, but others have not been in the same condition. That itself can raise flags. And this is possible only through digitization, that you can compare what kind of treatment has been given, if there is a selective treatment, a selective approach. Second is that, like I mentioned in my opening remarks, that if for certain conditions we can have some standard treatment guidelines, that you have to follow these, and we are both worried about under treatment and over treatment, and neither should happen, and that can help in terms of ensuring that you submit the claims, then we compare with the standard treatment guidelines whether you followed that process or not. If for the certain condition you have to ask for certain kind of diagnostic test, whether they were done, and if something else was done, there should be some justification why it was done. So again, it could be done through digitization and could enforce those. And at some point in time, of course, it has to be based on ethics and personal honor system. And so always there will be some people, some providers who will not be following this. But it is much easier to catch this through digital world rather than through paper-based approach. Again, but I think perspective from the industry would be helpful. And also, HERA is at the like a cutting edge of this work, not only in Asia but in the world. And I've been really been impressed by the kind of work they've done. And they started this work when they were at the stage of India in terms of socio-economic status. So right now they are in OECD country and developed country, but and that has happened in our lifetime. But when they started this work, they had the same level of socio-economic status as India. So I will also request Dr. Ryu if he can throw some light on this. But before that, you'd like to go?
No, thank you, Dr. Indubhushan. I think this is we have to increase coverage. That's the only way to address it. That's my years of being in this industry. Every time in those hospitals where we are able to get above a certain percentage of revenue from insurance, that problem disappears. Wherever there are more cash-paying customers in hospitals and insurance is still a very small part of their revenue, this problem stays. So the correct way to address this problem eventually is the discussion that we are having. We have to grow coverage for health insurance. As we grow coverage for health insurance, as more revenues to hospitals go in from insurance companies, this problem automatically disappears. Because then it's more institution to institution, a commercial discussion rather.
Thank you. I will offer international aspect on this issue. First, Korea. Unfortunately, we do have actually system to detect the redundancy of testing. Using the old test that particular patient goes to another B hospital, the test is being done again. Why? The provider group worked with the National Assembly that well, therefore, we cannot share the medical information, health information among healthcare groups. This is like we call what? Private information protection law. But when you go to, I visited the Estonia, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, their system, you all share. Even Taiwan, all share. That means you don't need to do redundancy. Of course, this is where some Korean providers, the tendency to increase the revenue by doing that is certainly there. And we have a system where that try to, as part of quality assessment system, they automatically picks up the hospitals does this, and then we report them to them. This is showing standard deviation number, A, B, C, D hospitals like your hospital, your score redundancy testing wise, you got 60 points. The others, while others average getting 30 points. So is there any way you can show a different number within 6 months? Then, obviously that digitalized data showing they are self-collection being done. The following 6 months later, we see number 35, 35, 60 become 35. So I think this is, again, that how much of we can use digitalized data for working with the provider, not against the provider, working with the providers to have self-correction and use incentives, paying more to providers. So this is what the case, dilemma in Korea as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Good morning, sir. I'm Aviral. I'm from National Health Authority, and my question is directed to Professor Ru. Sir, you talked about how in Korea you have scaled expenditure, or rather insurance coverage for diagnostics almost 10x from 2018. And at the National Health Authority, we are trying to do something similar where we are decoupling diagnostic packages from overall packages during pre-authorization. So I just wanted you to, elaborate a little more on some of the problems and challenges you faced in scaling up that insurance coverage almost 10 times in such a short period, and some of the practices adopted to prevent fraud, because, covering diagnostics under health insurance opens up a lot of, doors for creating loopholes for fraud. So some of the practices that you adopted to prevent that.
Well, we have a very active society of the Laboratory Medicine Association. So what that means is each specialty, we have association or society of the national experts working with the HIRA to setting up the price schedule, right? And diagnostic test is certainly the foundation of practicing evidence-based medicine, as well as the precisional medicine to serving, to deliver the patient-centered integrated care. We are talking about patient-centered integrated care. If we don't cover diagnostic tests, the comprehensive diagnostic test, we are not making good the policy. And it costs, or certainly it does, right? But overall, when we make over like OECD report to say, even the OECD member countries, about the 15% medical waste because of misdiagnosis. And for going to low or middle-income countries, it goes 40%. Why? Diagnosis. So I'm proud of even Korea now, probably most diagnostic tests, the basic tests, plus you see MRI, etc., were covered. I'm promoting that, and I hope that your authority also continue to expand coverage on diagnostics as well. Thank you.
Yes.
Hello, sir. This question is to Gulati, sir. I would like to put some light on the provider aspect, because since if you have to increase the overall coverage of insurance, the participation of hospitals also is quite important. As we all know that industry says that the payment reduction, what happens to hospital at an insurance level, is around 4 to 5% on the overall eligible amount. As you said, on an 80,000 crore market, it is around 4 to 5,000 crore revenue in a year. So, and it is happening because there is no standardization at a process level. Whatever standardization you are bringing at an policy level is still dependent on people driven at an actual processing. Because of that, hospitals lose money, and the delay payments also cause some kind of an revenue loss to them. Because of this, 2-tier and 3-tier hospitals are not showing much interest on coming into the insurance board. So how we are going to address this through the digitalization is my question.
I think the aim of every insurance company would be that as consumers go into a hospital, there is standardization on treatment protocol and cost. This would be the aim, this would be the desire, because that is the best for the consumer. Then it's predictable, right? It's rule-based. Wherever there is no standardization, whether it is the treating doctor, whether it is the hospital billing system, or it may be claim adjudication at the insurance company end, there will be manual intervention, and because of which there could be standard deviation from what should be the norm for handling a claim like that. I think which is where a discussion of this nature, where by putting in an HCX equivalent system, which is built around standardized protocols, not only around treatment, but around cost patterns and so on and so forth, and how data has to be exchanged, the infrastructure being there in terms of the technology infrastructure, allowing for bills to move seamlessly to insurance companies, and technology itself, you call it artificial intelligence, you call it rule-based, approving those claims, and near real-time payments being made to hospitals. From an insurance company standpoint, I can tell you, we first collect premium from the consumer, so all insurance companies are cash rich. Cash is never a problem for insurance companies. It's more our own operating time in terms of adjudication and the commercial terms that we have with hospitals, right, which lead to payment and so on and so forth. So I think it's exactly the point that you've raised. Technology in this discussion will play a very, very important role in solving for that. And it's in our interest to solve for that, so that we build more trust for the consumer, so that they're able to utilize this health insurance and hence healthcare much better in that sense.
Yes, please.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Harsh Parekh from Briefcase. This question is for Mr. Gulati. Today, a common practice in the health insurance space is discounting of insurance premium renewals basis health activities such as, say, walking or joining a gym, doing yoga, etc., and submitting those receipts. What is your view on the movement of this to something more scientific, such as evaluation of, say, medical records or actual health data, such as improvement in, say, cholesterol levels or creatinine levels or basis data, like something like a Sybil for health, if I can actually put it out?
See, I think this whole discussion around personal health records, ABHA, the health record being available centrally and being available to, of course, basis consent of the individual to doctors, treating doctors, as well as other important stakeholders. First, I think what it does is take misrepresentation and fraud out of the system, right? That itself takes away a huge burden, right? Because the moment you're speaking only on data and on actual facts, I think it makes everybody's job easier. Activity-based wellness leading to individuals living a healthier life, them requiring less hospitalization, is something that we all expect. I'm not sure if it is still proven medically, right? It isn't, it's certainly not in our context, right? But it's very early. We're all very early in this journey, right? We all realize that wellness is a tool to build more engagement, build more loyalty, is real, right? It should, I'm sure it will result in lower claims eventually, right? It's just that it's not scientifically proven yet. We have to just allow it to cure some more till we get there. Yeah.
I think we'll have this last question because we are, I think, running out of time. So please.
I would like to thank my previous speaker, this panelist and the previous person who asked this question to what is wellness and what is preventive medicine. So I am a preventive medicine expert. I did my doctorate in preventive medicine from All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and it definitely pains me to hear that an insurance panel says that it is not scientifically proven. We've been working very hard for decades, and we have proven. We have many scientific proofs that it works, and it is for you to now look into the scientific evidence. The scientific evidence is there.
Okay, madam. Thank you. So, with your permission, sir, any closing remarks?
No closing remarks, but I think last two questions were very pertinent also, that when we talk about insurance, we have to also find innovative ways where we can focus on wellness rather than treatment of diseases and payment for treatment. So within insurance industry, I think a lot of such innovations have taken place, including, for example, covering things like annual checkups or encouraging healthy behavior in terms of doing a certain thing which are covered, but also if you do those things, they give you some discount on your premium, because the idea is that we encourage healthy behavior, which of course will reduce also the outgo of insurance claims and incidence of disease itself. And I know that we are coming in between tea and yourselves, so we want to close this session. And thank you very much for attending. And I was earlier thinking that it's early morning, so maybe not many of you would show up on a Monday morning, but thank you for showing up, and thank you for listening to all of us. And I want to also thank all the speakers who've joined us and have provided their insights and inputs for us to make our scheme Ayushman Bharat and digital mission much better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And those who have not been able to ask their question can in fact talk to the panelists offline. We have a small memento to give to the speakers as a token of our gratitude, sir. 1 minute.